Hey everyone, welcome back to Cool Stuff Etc. My name is Riley, and I just tried to record this video, and about 20 minutes in, my phone stopped recording. It flashed a black screen, and the little wheelie came up, and then my recording wasn't there, so that's great. Now I have to do all this again. So here we go. I'm just gonna get right into it. This is what I've been up to the past couple weeks. There's some movies, there's some music, there's some other stuff. I'm gonna go even quicker. I wanted to be brief and concise. I want to be under 30 minutes, and I was not gonna reach that goal. I am reading off of some notes that I wrote. Sorry, I'm talking really fast, but I'm in the mood to do this. I am frustrated that this was erased, and so I'm just gonna continue this. This is Hellboy animated, Sword of Storms, Blood and Iron. It's not very good. Animation's kind of low quality. It reminds me of like a Cartoon Network TV special, and it actually, in fact, is a Cartoon Network TV special. It was cool that the Del Toro movie cast was here, but I don't think it's worth the watch. I'm probably gonna watch the other. I watched Sword of Storms. There's Blood and Iron too. I'm gonna watch Blood and Iron. Probably sell it. We saw Smile in theaters. I knocked the table. We saw Smile in theaters. It was decently good, well directed. Score was really cool. Had some unique textures that kind of are reminiscent of noise projects. And it had some genuine tension and shocks, but also was a bit of a jump scare fest, which is not like my preferred type of horror, which is okay. And there was some practical effects at the end of the movie that looked really, really cool. I don't want to spoil anything if you're going to go see it. But I think my main problem with it is that the story is kind of weak. The analogy doesn't hold up as well as they were intending it to be. It's kind of an analogy about trauma, and they make that very, very clear. And I think that thematically speaking, it doesn't work. Whereas, internally in the film's logic, in the film's universe, it does work, but those kind of clash, and so it doesn't work. But it was a decent film. I would say you should see it maybe when it's on streaming or something. I wouldn't go and pay money to go see it in theaters. But and the next physical release I have is Seven Samurai. This is the Criterion version, as you can see. And this is actually, I realized, the second they ever put out, the second release they ever put out, which is cool. This is directed by Akira Kurosawa. To me, in many ways, it's kind of a precursor to a lot of Western films, and it did, in fact, inspire The Magnificent Seven, which is a classic Western. Excuse me. But it's the story of a village in Japan, in feudal Japan, that are being attacked by bandits who are trying to steal all their rice and their food and are actively killing them. And then they hire some ronin, to protect them. And yeah, this is an epic in every sense of the word. Even though I feel like the story is very, very, I want to say down to earth, but that's not right. It's very simple, very simple story. Not many locations, not really a whole lot of characters in comparison to what I think most people think of when they think epic. You think Lord of the Rings or something along those lines. I cannot get this back in here. Come on, here we go. But yeah, highly recommend. Beautifully directed movie. The film grain and the black and white really add a lot to it. And I know it's not an aesthetic choice. I know that's because of when it was made, but it looks beautiful. And one thing you'll notice for sure is how the actors are staged when the camera is moving around or even just still. It's the way they stage the actors is beautiful. And then the last movie I watched was probably the first true Western that I've seen, unless Cowboy Bebop counts, which I think it does. But Fistful of Dollars, a classic Western movie directed by Sergio Leone, the first in the Dollars trilogy. This was on Canopy, and it's going to be removed at the end of the month, at least for my library. And so I really wanted to watch this before it was removed, and I did. I actually watched it because I've been waking up super early. Because of the time change, 4:30 even today, and it's 7:30 right now. When I'm shooting this, I woke up before work yesterday on Friday and watched most of it before I had to leave for work, and then came home and finished it. And yeah, this is a great Western. The editing and shot composition really stick out to me as building tension and a good, that classic Western feeling that you get. It feels really cool. And the story is very interesting. It's about this guy who comes into this town in Mexico. There's these two warring factions, and he kind of plays both sides. You're not really sure his motivation. Doesn't seem to be money, doesn't seem to be fame or anything. He just kind of does what he does, and then at the end of the movie, after everything happens, he just sort of leaves. And he's played by Clint Eastwood. He falls into that, badass archetype, but he kind of steps over the typical tropes you might see, like, always having to have a love interest and kind of I guess you could say objectifying women, or just like trying really hard to be cool and like coming off as lame. Like, he really avoids that by being sort of a soft-spoken, sort of very dry character. And so, yeah, this is a great movie. I would highly recommend it. I am looking to procure a physical copy for sure. I definitely enjoyed it. I would say as much as Seven Samurai. And yeah, we'll move on to some shows. I'm watching some shows. I'm not going to talk about them until I finish at least a season of them. But the one that I watched that I did not finish was Midnight Club, the first season. This is a Mike Flanagan series on Netflix. It's based off a young adult novel series about a group of children or teenagers with terminal illnesses who tell horror stories at midnight. And I really wanted to like this, but I could not get past. It really, really feels like a CW show that has a bigger budget and better direction. So I am not going to finish watching this probably at least anytime soon. And it bums me out because Midnight Mass and Haunting of Hill House are great. Would highly recommend those. But you will be depressed, I promise. All right, moving into some music, I'll talk briefly about Pup, the band, and their debut album, self-titled, just called Pup. I enjoy their other albums. I had not listened to their debut album until this point, and it's pretty good. You can definitely see how their sound will evolve to what it is. But it's not fully polished. This is still some great songs. Guilt Trip, of course, Dark Days, Reservoir. Those are kind of the big ones, I guess, from that album. So would recommend, but I think their later stuff, like The Dream Is Over, is more my preferred thing. But I've also sat with that one longer, so it's probably a bit of bias talking. Then I listened to The Sound of Perseverance by Death. This is the final album in Death's discography, and the last one I needed to listen to have listened to all their albums, and I did listen to them chronologically, which is not always how I do, but this instance I did. And I think that it continues the sound from Symbolic, which is their previous release, but I think it's a bit more engaging to me. I don't know exactly what it is, but maybe they just have refined the sound that they were looking for on Symbolic. I think I do prefer Sound of Perseverance, but it's going to require a few more listens. The one thing that I will note that is a definite step up from the previous albums is Chuck's vocals are just better. It sounds more very full, like a lot more full than it has on previous releases, and it's also a bit more shriekier, which is unique in this genre, or at least for a band like this. So I very much enjoyed it, and I'm happy to finally have that discography kind of finished. Sorry, as you can tell, I'm like low energy. I was like running out of energy towards the end of that video, and now to the video I was just trying to record, and now I'm like, so whatever. We'll get through this. All right, Dungeon Synth. Moving on to Dungeon Synth. Iron Wraith, The Pale Rider, released on Realm of Sleep. That's coming in the mail, so I won't mention it much, but it's great. You should listen to it. It's not in your face, and it creates a very palpable atmosphere and feeling that I really enjoyed. Truer Than Time Thought by Hedge Wizard. This is a bit more complex compositionally, and it's a bit faster than I typically look for in Dungeon Synth, but it does have an undeniable vibe, and I think that people would really enjoy this. But it's not entirely what I look for, but still very, very good. I wish there was a cassette release, but it's only on vinyl, which is a bummer. But if it ever comes out on cassette, I'll be one of the ones to get it. I'll try my best at least. And then also on Dungeons Deep Records is Secret Stairways with Turning Point. This even moves further from traditional Dungeon Synth into more cinematic area. So it's trying to be very cinematic. The instrumentation is very lush, well produced. It's of course still, I assume, still MIDI instruments, but it's more composed than you typically see in like a old school, dark dungeon synth album. And I would say it's not very dark. It has a range of emotions that you might find typical in fantasy settings and stuff. But yeah, not for me. I'll maybe listen to it later on, and we'll see how it goes. But all right, next up, the only physical release I have for this dungeon synth, Goblin Fort, Heroes and Hobgoblins. I love this project. I love this release. It's more dungeon drone or dungeon noise than a dungeon synth release. As you can see, this cassette is just very, very simple, which I actually like that aesthetic a lot. I think it fits with what they're trying to go for with this like old school RPG artwork. So did I say the name of the project? Goblin Fort. This is Heroes and Hobgoblins. And I'm not to toot my own horn, but I actually have the first of 40 copies, which is pretty awesome for a release that I love so much. But yeah, this is awesome. It's just 2 tracks, and I would hesitate to call them songs because they really aren't songs. They're more so, I would say, like auditory experiences. As I said, it's dungeon drone or dungeon noise, so it's not music in a traditional sense, but it's great to put on if you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, if you're playing Baldur's Gate or whatever, or reading a book like I do. So yeah, highly recommend. I wish that the case did not come cracked on the front. I don't know if you can even see that, but it's a little crack, which is fine. It's okay. But yeah, great release. Definitely listen to it. All right, moving on from there. Wampyric Solitude with Hermetical Vampirism. As it sounds like, it is vampire themed. It is very simple, very droney synth music. Few bells and whistles here, but doesn't try and overdo it. And it's very, very excellent. The guy behind this project also does the project Defender, which I also love. So I'm gonna keep listening to what he does. And he has a lot of projects. So I'll be very happy to do that. Next up is Corpus Hibernus, As the Blood Freezes in My Veins. Along with this Goblin Fort release that I just shared, this is definitely one of my favorite dungeon synth releases so far. The vibes are incredible, and it was all recorded on this shitty Yamaha keyboard. It is no frills, low audio fidelity, very simple MIDI instruments, and it's just the perfect combination for dungeon synth. I really love it. I'm so bummed I missed out on the cassette release, but it happens. It's okay. Anyways, okay, that was where it died last time. Ooh, just let me take a moment to collect myself. Oh my god. Whew. Okay, board games. Moving on to board games. We're doing this quick. Tiny Epic Dinosaurs. Worker placement game. You are breeding and fulfilling contracts of dinosaurs to score the most points. This is a fun series of games. Tiny Epic is, there's many iterations. Tiny Epic Dinosaurs, Tiny Epic Quest, Pirates, Mechs, Galaxies, I said Pirates already. Whatever, Tactics, Kingdoms, Dungeons. And so I have a couple of these. These are very fun games, and they're very cheap, and they always are fun. I keep saying fun. I think I want to try to higher player count. It was a little bit not engaging enough at 2 players, but that's okay. Next up is Point Salad. Simple but fun card game. On your turn, all you're doing is selecting from a variety of 2 markets, either the vegetable market you can take 2 cards from, or the point criteria market. So basically you're trying to collect cards that will fit your point criteria, and it's very simple, but it's actually very fun. Again, we play this at 2 player, and I think I want to try it at higher play counts, because of course it'll be more fun with more cards and more decision making and all that good stuff, but it's still very fun. All right, next up we have Chronicles of Crime. This is actually a game that Katie bought, which doesn't always happen, but she likes these sort of investigation games, and I was happy to play with her. We did the tutorial in the first of, I think, 4 cases. And this is an app-driven investigation game. I enjoy the way that they have you set out everything with like locations, and you put the character cards on the locations, and you have your evidence and stuff collected, and it's very cool, but it's a bit finicky with all the management you have to do. Scanning QR codes is kind of a hassle a little sometimes when it doesn't work. And really the big problem for me was that there's no way to like track what people say to you. Or rather there is, but what I should say is that when we played this, we had to solve this puzzle, and then we were supposed to take the results to this character, and Katie and I had both forgot because so much time had passed, because it's non-linear, so you don't have to solve the puzzle right away necessarily. And so we forgot what to do. We wasted time because it is a timed game, and we ended up failing because of it. So that was frustrating, but we're gonna try the other cases and see how we feel. I would say for $30, which is what we bought this for, which is I think the retail price, this isn't bad. And there's many in this series, Chronicles of Crime, but I don't know, I'm not super keen on it just yet. If you're wondering what this is, by the way, I mark games that we have like campaigns in, so I don't forget. Oh, I forgot to grab this. My bad, sorry y'all. We had a game night with a couple friends, Rachel and Will, and this is Binding of Isaac, 4 Souls. This is like a Munchkin style game. And we kickstarted it. We also kickstarted the upcoming expansion / sequel, because we love Binding of Isaac, but I'll be the first to admit that this game has some problems to it, some balance issues. It's incredibly unbalanced, I would say. The game that we played with Rachel and Will was just like a total blowout on my part, because I just got incredibly lucky with dice rolls and the items I got, and you know, there was a little bit of strategy on my part, but like I basically just got luckier than everybody else. So I you know, and that can just happen. It happens quite often when we play this game. And also the other problem is that it lasts way too long for what it is. They tried to make it really hard, which is, you know, the video game is really hard, but I think they went way too far with like the health you have and the health that the bosses have and stuff. So yeah, I would only recommend it if you're a big fan like we are, because we do enjoy playing this game every once in a while, but it's not like, I don't know, it's got issues. Hopefully the expansion will remedy those. Sorry, I thought I saw something on the bottom of that. Okay, next up on that game night, we played Monikers. This is a classic charades game. This is the classics version of Monikers. We had a lot of fun, and the final score was 102 to 101. With Katie and I just barely eking it out. We suck at like the charades part, but I think we're really good at when you're explaining the cards. This is a great party game. Would totally recommend. You don't even really need to buy this. If you just like, you can just like get scraps of paper and write stuff on it. But I wanted to get this, so I did. But yeah, highly recommend. And then in a similar vein, we also played this Blockbuster party game. This is introduced to us by our friends, excuse me, Amelia and Patrick, and it's pretty fun. I think Katie likes it more than me. And it's in the same vein as Monikers. It is like a charades style game where you're trying to guess movies and stuff, and it comes in this cute little VHS, you know, and it has like a little, as you can see, a little sign and stuff. And we played this after Monikers to round out the night because Katie really wanted to show them. So, and we had fun with this one too, but I think Monikers was definitely the highlight for me. Another day, Katie and I played one of our favorite games, Taverns of Tiefenthal. This is an excellent sort of deck builder where you are running your own tavern, and you are buying upgrades as well as attracting new customers with beer. The more beer you have, the better customers you can buy, and you're just trying to gain points from that. It comes with the base game, and it also comes with 5 like kind of mini modules, and we played with the modules for the first time, except for the 5th one, because I wanted to kind of just like ease us into it. But the modules really add a lot of variability to the game and increase your decision making. So this is really cool, and I really highly recommend. I know this designer has also made Quacks of Quedlinburg, which is like the more popular of his games, and we haven't played that one yet, but we were interested in it. And this is I think this is a great game. I don't see people talking about this in like board game videos and stuff, but this is an awesome game. Highly recommend. All right. Final board game. As you can see, we played a lot of board games over the past couple weeks. We bought Fort and played it for the first time. This is a Leader Games game, people who made Root and Oath. And this is another deck builder. I know we play a lot of deck builders. Basically, you are a kid who is trying to have the best fort, and you have your friends on cards and you use their abilities. The trick, though, is that other players can use your cards' abilities, and oh, sorry, my brain's not working. They can use your cards' abilities, and the cards you do not use can eventually be stolen, potentially, by other players. It has a lot of character. The art is really cute, as you can see, as always with these kinds of games. And the best thing, honestly, is that it doesn't take very long to play. We have only played this with 2 players, but I think even at 3 and 4, it would take less than an hour, probably 30 or 45 minutes, if everyone knows what they're doing and there's no analysis paralysis going on. So, highly recommend. I was going to talk a little bit about some books. I think I'll just talk about this one, as it's the only one that I finished this year. I'm worried about, not a year, sorry, this past week. I'm worried about the timer. So, perfect edition of 20th Century Boys. This is volume 2. This is a series about a group of people who have grown up. When they were kids, they had this secret fort and they had made this secret plan for a bunch of villains. And as adults, there's a strange cult that is copying this plan to a T and will ultimately destroy the world unless they stop them. In this volume, it really, really ramps up. There's a time jump, and it gets pretty serious. So yeah, highly recommend. There's a lot of twists and turns. There's a great mystery. I still have, I think, 8 more volumes or 9 more volumes to read. So I'm only scratching the surface of this story, but yeah, incredible. I get, this is like top of my list manga right now. Cannot recommend this enough. You should pick it up if you have the money or can find it for cheap. So that's going to be it. Sorry for this messy ass video. But as I said, the other one got deleted, and I'm really frustrated about it, but I wanted to get this done because I really wanted to get this video out, so I apologize. Hopefully the next video that I release will be better. And not be tainted with this bummer attitude that I have, and I'm talking really fast and everything, so whatever. Things happen. Have a good week, everybody. See you in the next video.